When first Raymond approached me saying, hey, we want you to give us a sort of little chat about your career at our CIE event, I was saying, I'm a pharmaceutical guy. I mean, you guys are engineer, I'm really a scientist. What do you want me to do here? And then Raymond just said, hey, we do also have biomedical sort of a group as well. And reality, yeah, I mean, engineer is an important the pharmaceutical as well. So I said, sure. At least I'm going to give you a little bit my personal experience, personal journey, and some of the sort of personal learning along the way. We can talk about it. So here I am. So as I say, it's a career in pharmaceutical R&D. Why we want to be in pharmaceutical is trying to make a difference. And the thing that we really want to do is create medicines to improve the life of patients. That's the purpose of your sort of every day when you woke up. That's what you want to do. Drive you to the office. So that being said, I think I need to take care of that first. It's my own opinion. Obviously, it does not reflect any of my current and the previous employers. The company lawyer really wanted me to put up there. Anyway, as I say, if you want to sort of save life, change people's sort of life, quality of life, actually, if you want to be part of a medical community or biopharma, actually Silicon Valley or Bay Area is the best place to be. As I say, you probably have seen this type of sort of figures everywhere, whether it's for the IT or for the social network, or for this one is a biotech. I mean, South San Francisco, as where it's called a biotech capital of the world, or if you drive down South City, you will also see the sign as the birthplace of biotechnology. So, I mean, you probably heard Genentech, you heard Merck, you heard Gilead, but there's a lot of other companies. Roughly, it's just the South City alone, there's about 300 small, medium, big biotech or pharmaceutical company around that areas. And trying to see, yeah, I think that's the company that I work for. I have to show you something that actually my company also is on that picture. So, come back to my own sort of a personal journey or personal career. It's actually, the medicine runs in my families, and not to let Raymond outdone by his sort of 1917, the CIE sort of was established in 1917. I decided to put a 1910 picture as well. I think that's probably around 1917, 1916, because this boy on the left is my grandfather. And that's his father, and that's his grandfather. So they're all sort of doctors, and my grandfather got his sort of MD from Uni Medical College. If you been there long enough, 协和医学院 that's actually founded by Rockefeller Foundations back in 1910s. And then my great-grandfather, he's actually one of the pioneers in terms of combining the Western medicine and the Chinese medicines. And then if you go Baidu, or you probably can find some video clips to talk about his sort of career that I actually only learned after Baidu. And then obviously my great-great-great-grandfather, he's actually a traditional Chinese medicine doctor. So that being said, fast forward to me, my sort of 1970s, 80s in college, and that's when sort of before I decide to leave China, and that's the day when I sort of bought the airplane to United States. So my own personal sort of scientific journey starts with college in China, University of Science and Technology of China, USTC. And if there's anyone in the audience, probably also known that as United States Training Center. And I went to Columbia, spent about 5 years at Columbia and got my PhD in biophysical chemistry, and also spent some time, summer in Kanagawa Academy of Science and Tokyo University, Todai. And after that, did 2 postdocs. One is at the Memorial Sloan Kettering Center, studying the structure and the mechanism of gene mutations. And then as an American Leukemia Society Fellow, I also spent some time at the University of Pennsylvania studying medical stuff as well, biophysical stuff. So, but anyway, that's my academic. And after that, I decided, it is time to do something practical, so I moved into industry. My first industrial job is at the Procter & Gamble. They actually have pharmaceutical business. So if you don't know, not only just the Bondies and the Pringles and the Tides, they actually do make medicines as well. After that, I moved to sort of 2 pharmaceutical companies, SmithKline Beecher, then gone through the merger with Glaxo, made it to GSK, then I actually decided to move also to Minnesota, join the SRAM. At the time, they also have a pharmaceutical business. And after 3 years up north, I feel it's too cold, and I want to find some warm place, and Bay Area it is. And for the past 13 years, I have been sort of staying with the company, going through the various sort of name of that company, Ceravance or Ceravance Biopharma. The reason I sort of list out all this name of the companies, that's my personal learnings throughout the whole year. For the young graduate who wants to get into industry, one of the career move that if you can achieve, I really highly encourage to achieve, is to work for some well-established and big companies. All the managerial training that I got at Procter & Gamble, they call it proctorized. It's invaluable for my past 20 years career. And they really sort of teach you how to sort of be a manager, how to be a supervisor, and how to sort of maneuver the corporate world. And I'm trying to take a step at the Silicon Valley here. It's not like here, if you're a scientist, you're good at science, and they just put you on the managerial position, and here you are, you just go figure yourself. And I think, at the time we always say is Procter & Gamble, McKinsey, or GE, that's the incubator for the management. So that's something, for me, I think it's good to have. And obviously, I was saying that I'm going to take a step at Silicon Valley as well. If you don't have this type of training, you will have someone like Uber, right? Anyway, so back to my motivations. So my personal sort of satisfaction comes with creating medicines that help and improve the life of human beings, of patients. And the one thing I have worked on for the past 13 years, antibiotics actually treats the drug resistance infections. Like one thing is really superbugs. If you have heard of MRSA or superbugs, really it's just those infections that cannot be cured by the routine antibiotics. And I mean, if you are not very sort of good at watching those pictures with patients, you can close your eyes. But here's what you will see is if you get infected with the superbug, that's what you have, then, getting worse. And in the end, it's for those patients, it's roughly about 3 to 7 days. Either you get amputated or you're going to die. So that's what really sort of drives people. When you devote your whole life to something, you really wanted to make sure you like to do that kind of stuff. And this is what really gets me going. Okay, now back to creative medicines. The one thing that we always say, the healthcare is very expensive, and a lot of time the pharmaceutical industry gets part of the blame. And here I just want to give you some sort of background or understanding why the drug is so expensive. Tufts actually came out those reports every year, and this report is 2016. The cost of making one new drug is 2.6 billion now in 2016. So right now probably is this year, probably 2017 is 3 billion. And the one thing is, it's not getting any cheaper, because when I first started to read those reports back 20 years ago, it's about $600 million or $700 million per drug. Right now it's 2.6 to $3 billion per drug. So it's a lot of money to invest it, and also it's a lot of time to invest it. As I'm trying to show here is, every single new drug takes average about 10 to 15 years from someone makes that drug all the way to actually goes to the patient. My 13 years at the Ceravans, I have one drug sort of all the way to the commercialization, and hopefully we have another one that actually got through my hands that's going to get approved by end of this year. But as I say, that's very good, sort of very proud moment for people in the pharmaceutical field, just because some people, after they spend their whole career, they probably still haven't had one that actually got approved. And if you think about it, the whole United States, every year we have about 20 to 30 new drugs got approved by FDA. And in terms of finding new drug, it's really finding the needle in the haystack. Roughly, you're starting with 100,000 molecules, and you go through discovery phase, preclinical, basically in vitro and in vivo animal studies. Then you go through 3 stages of the clinical trial. The first stage is phase 1, the second is phase 2, and phase 3 basically correspond. The phase 1 is about 20, 30 people to see if it's safe in the regular healthy volunteer. The phase 2 is really in the patients. It's about hundreds just to see if it's efficacious. The last phase, phase 3, is large population safety and efficacious study. Normally it's in the thousands. And the reason that the drug development cost is so high is really, right now that the hospital cost is really high. And when you have to put up thousands of the patient either in the hospital or deal with for a couple of weeks, sometimes all the way to a year to follow them through. So that's where the cost coming from. Okay, so I've seen a lot of the looks like young kids, high school or college kids here as well. So I just want to sort of take another sort of step at our government. As we say, is the basic biomedical research funding is really goes from the government funding right now, really goes to the private. And I guess all of you know that Google and Apple, they're all sort of starting to the biomedical research. Hopefully, they can fill the gap. In 2015, it's really private sector actually puts up most of the biomedical research expenditures already. Another thing, it's actually interesting for me to put this slides. It's always in my mind that, for the past 40 years since I got into the pharmaceutical areas, the trend is always been saying moving from small molecule to large molecule, meaning small molecule chemical molecules to proteins, antibodies. And as I put down 80s, it's statin. You guys know Lipitor, or if you have also Cerebrex, those are all small molecule drugs. It's target specific. And then 90s, we're moving to the biologics, monoclonal antibodies. And 2000s, it's ADC, antibody drug conjugates, to reduce the toxicity, but it's sort of trying to make more specific in terms of treating the disease. But in 2010s, we're getting to the age of personalized medicines. And I put it there, CAR T. I'm going to give a little bit sort of a description of CAR T later. But I put down this and I say, what about the sales? In 2004, the top 10 drug in the world, and I highlight in red, you probably couldn't read them very well, but they're all small molecule chemical drugs. And Lipitor at that time has about $5 billion sales. But fast forward to 2016, the top 10 drugs, 8 of the top 10 are all biologics. The only 2, Harvoni, I think you guys all heard about. Gilead spent $10 billion for this. It's a hepatitis C sort of a drug. It's actually a cure for the hepatitis C, so it's really good. So it's really, we're moving to the biologics sort of age. And also you can see the 90s, it's the biologics start to blossom, but it takes about 15, 20 years before they actually achieve the sales. So here's, being a scientist, any kind of talk I give, if I don't put some sort of mechanistic sketch, I just don't feel it's complete. But let's give you this sort of understanding what CAR T is for. Really, when we are talking about personalized medicines, you guys as an engineer, you probably heard about in vitro diagnostic and all this. But this particular personalized medicine is when you have a cancer, so they take the T cell from the cancer patient, they manipulate it, they're making sure that they add some sort of let me think about it. It's like guidance, GPS onto the T cell. So they manipulate, and then in the lab they reproduce this manipulated T cell, and they put it back into the patient's body. That way, they use this sort of a GPS guided T cell. They can kill the cancer, the tumors. As I say, this is the new sort of hot area in the pharmaceutical research. As I put down there, Novartis and the Kite. Gilead spends about $12 billion just to buy one of the product late last year. So talking about the career, it's a lot of money involved, so there's a lot of people needed to help to support these ecosystems. And it's not very clear, I don't think you can, but as I say, it needs a lot of scientists, a lot of engineers, and I will talk about later, but this is. And also, as I just mentioned, is pharmaceutical biotech is a highly regulated industry. You have in the US you have FDA, and when I actually first started my career, FDA, there's 1 year they hired about 5,000 people just to beef up the reviewer for the new drug applications. And then in Europe there's an EMA, and obviously even though it's a highly regulated industry, and you also wanted to make sure different country and region, they give the same rulings. So there's also harmonization organization in place to making sure that the US wanted is also what the EU wanted, and it's also what Japan wanted. Another thing that really FDA and the regulatory agency put in place is making sure that people who in the trade has the integrity. Now, granted, is all the business need to have the integrity as the core. And this is a picture I took when I was visiting UPS. You know, you can see they have all kind of beliefs, but the core belief is integrity. And for pharmaceutical, especially, we're giving the drug to the patients, to the human beings. This is the most important, okay? I want everyone to feel sort of comfortable that, you know, when you take drugs, drug has side effects, but that's the drug we definitely feel comfortable to give ourselves and to give to our relatives to take before, you know, we give to you guys to cure your disease. And obviously, in terms of integrity, I just want to sort of step again, another Bay Area sort of hot companies. I've been calling them fraud about 3 years ago, before everyone else does. But anyway, Theranos, and I think they were in the news again, earlier this month, right? So, I mean, if people wants to talk about that company, I mean, we can chat afterwards. But as I say, is if you're not honest doing the stuff, sooner or later you will be caught. So as I say, is there's a huge ecosystem for pharmaceutical, and I just want to show some of Korea in pharmaceutical industries. You know, you can be a toxicologist, you can look at a drug metabolism of the drug, and obviously the area that I'm in is making the drug, manufacturing. So that doesn't need a lot of help from chemical engineers. I guess that's my connection with engineers here. And then pharmaceutical formulation development for the drug products, how to make the tablet, how to make the injectables, and then regulatory affairs and the statisticians. So IT can play a huge role here, and also the clinicians. So here's, I guess, the picture I have in my department. One is that we use that to, our engineer use that to make the drug substance. And a career in chemical engineer in sort of pharmaceutical can also lead you to other careers as well. So one of our chemical engineer, I think he got enough of making drugs. He decides it's enough. He decides to open his own brewery. So actually, it's very good. I just had his beer yesterday. We had a company event, and we got him back to have his beer. It's in somewhere in San Francisco. You can Google this name, Harmonics. It's really good. So as I said, is the Bay Area is the hotbed for the pharmaceutical and the biotech, and just so people know, this is in the news last year. AstraZeneca, they actually are closing a lot of their facilities in East Coast. They are moving into South City, sorry. And then Merck is doing the same thing. And then obviously the Southern Pound Gorilla Genentech is also going to have another 30,000 employees in South San Francisco. And that really got our HR worried about it. So anyway, as I said, is the South City and South San Francisco, in that sense, the Bay Area is really good for people who wants to have a career in pharmaceutical and biotech. And since this is sort of career panel, I figure I also put on some of my own sort of take on the interviews, and so that whether it's good or not, I mean, this is good for the pharmaceutical industry, I guess. So the one thing, we were sort of different when we interviewed the candidates. We don't have those tests. Okay, I heard about those. You know, you're supposed to prepare the test a lot. Okay, so we would call people up. So the one advice I gave to all the potential candidates is when you get that phone call, say, hey, people want to talk to you about what do you do after you submit your resume. Don't get too excited. Just always say, I'm in the midst of the meetings, or I'm in the midst of something. Let's schedule a time and I call you back. That way you can prepare for the interview, not just getting too excited and you don't know what you're talking about. Then if you are lucky enough to get on-site interviews, I actually should put the third topic, third line first. Do not be late at any cost. I have a couple of candidates like 15 minutes late. That's it, you know. I don't care how good you are. If you are not responsible to making sure you get there on time, and then obviously you want to research the interviewers and research the company and the group, and take with you a deck of updated resumes. Some box sync logging. And as a hiring manager, when you actually come in for an on-site interview, at least for us, if you're on-site interview, you're already qualified scientifically. The only thing we're really looking at is whether you have the chemistry with the team. So I guess you're supposed to still prepare for scientifically or technically, but the most important one is really to be to look at whether you have the chemistry, you have the personalities, and it's a match for the team. So the first 5 minutes are the most important. A lot of time I actually make up my mind in the first 5-10 minutes already. And then we're looking at team player, quick learner, and all those. But the one thing is most important as always is honesty. You know, don't make up things in the interviews. We are smart enough to look through you, okay? And we are also looking at people better than we are. And actually, the last thing I want to say, I know that there's 1 minute signs up. Interview is mutual, right? When you go interview, you also interview that company as well. So the most important thing I want to say is, you know, the company you work for actually really well determines how your career go in the next 5-10 years or your whole life. So you really have to put a lot of weight on the company you join. And you want to have a company who has a very good team dynamics and has a trust, has open communication, and also your manager is really the type of people that has at least know this. I always say it is in Chinese, 己所不欲，勿施于人. You know, it's a humble manager, not the people who thinks they know everything and you guys just a worker for him or her. So that's it for mine. And then the last slides, it's my company's sort of career website, if you're interested. At least that's sort of how I got our company or corporate agree to it. So, thank you. Any questions?